Hello and welcome to my series of programs and conversations with men and women whose ideas, vision and philosophy help define our contemporary world. My guest today is described variously as a Guru Maharaj Prem Rawat, as an inspirational teacher, speaker. He's reportedly impacted the lives of more than 9 million people over several decades of teachings in some 90 countries. In India alone, at 3,000 centers, there are 7,000 events conducted every day that spread his message and his teachings and impact the people of India. He's addressed United Nations conferences, universities, and is an established voice for the pursuit of peace and knowledge, as he describes his essential message. I'm delighted to welcome Guru Maharaj Prem Rawat. Tell us of the evolution. What came first, Prem Rawat or Guru Maharaj? Because when you were 3 years old, the literature on your website tells us that you were already speaking and addressing audiences. At 4, you published, the first pieces that you spoke were published. For those of us sort of with more, how do I put this, mundane lives, that's quite an achievement. At 3 years to be speaking to people, and you were born the son of a Satguru, hailed and held out as being the Guru for our times, and that's quite a heritage and quite an amazing background. And for decades you were hailed, recognized, addressed as Guru Maharaj, and now you're Prem Rawat. Tell us about the interface between these two.
I want to begin with just saying that for me, and I'll bring this down to earth, because I'm me. I don't remember being born. I do remember talking to people. It came from a compassion, from an idea that everybody can improve their lives, that there is more to this existence. I don't look at myself as Prem Rawat. I don't look at myself as Guru Maharaj. People call me that. They call me many things. Those are names, nouns, sometimes adjectives. But I am me, whoever I am. The breath comes into me, I exist. I have my goods, I have my bads. I exist. And all I really want to do is be very, very thankful that I am alive, that the breath comes into me, that's a gift. And I want to recognize the gift that I'm given with each breath.
Mm-hmm. But yet, we all of us carry an identity, and it's an identity we use. We have to use it. We have to get passports name done. We get literature printed. We have websites, and people change those identities if they're not comfortable with them sometimes. So in terms of the identities, or the names at least, sort of the placards, are choices that you make. And those choices represent perceptions of realities or changing realities. So it's in that sense that I wondered, what is that changing reality for you that that it has moved? Or I'm not sure which came first, but whichever did. I'm interested in really the journey of someone who teaches people the pursuit of peace.
I am me. Me. I'm this being that has a limited time on the face of this earth. I can feel pain and I can feel joy. I can feel good and I can feel bad. And a being who has a natural bias to want to feel happiness and peace in his life. I have children, I have a wife, I have other relatives, I have responsibilities, and for me, there are certain needs that I have that are fundamental and innate to every human being on the face of this earth. The want to feel peace is fundamental to every human being.
Here in India, we have the notion of sadhana, which really means a journey, a practice, the use of a technique. What has been the nature of your sadhana? Have you had a sadhana? Is there a process that you seek, that you cultivate, that you go through, that you have been through, from incompleteness to completeness, or whichever? Again, this is semantic. There are traditions that will say, the truth and the reality is within you. It's really just a question of unveiling the ignorance, and you reach the reality. Forget the semantics of it. Have you had a journey? And what is the nature of that journey?
Well, I think that it has to be put in a perspective here. People have beliefs. It's like a bus. And in the bus, there is maybe 30 passengers. And one is wearing a purple sari, and one is wearing a green sari.
Tell us about you as the passenger in this bus.
I will. And maybe somebody's wearing a blue suit and somebody's wearing a gray suit, and whatever it may be. But when the bus is in trouble, say if it runs out of fuel, they all stop traveling. They can all have their preferences. People have their preferences. Some believe in Christ, some believe in Buddha, and they should.
But there are different buses and different destinations.
We're talking about one bus, one bus with many passengers in it. This is one planet Earth. This is our time. Each one of us is given our one time. We cannot borrow that time from somebody, and we cannot give it to somebody.
So in the time that you have, what is your journey? Which bus are you on? What color clothes are you wearing?
I want to travel in the bus of reality. My experience, not theory, not suggestions, but I want to feel my fundamental reality.
Is your fundamental reality likely to be the same as my fundamental reality?
It should be. The breath comes into you, breath comes into me.
But we breathe differently.
No, we think differently.
No.
We breathe the same.
We breathe the same, but some of us breathe rapidly and feel anxious or feel different emotions. Depending on the kind of breath we breathe. Some of us breathe sort of, the upper part of the chest. Some of us breathe in the lower aspects of the chest. We do breathe differently.
But we breathe.
Yes.
And breath is
breath. But we breathe it differently.
And breath is
and
breath.
Because
and when
we breathe,
the breath stops,
because we breathe
it affects
differently.
us the same. And when the breath stops, it affects us the same. And when a person stops breathing, we all go into the same state. We are no more alive. These distinctions that we are getting caught on is the very reason why there is so much confusion in this world.
Well, there are different perceptions, there are different experiences of reality. My reality is different to your reality.
Excuse me. What I'm trying to get to is the sun is shining outside, and there's a bunch of people sitting in a room discussing what the sun looks like. And somebody says, well, it should be like this, or it should be like this, it should be like this. And what I'm saying, let's just step outside and see it.
What I'm suggesting and really looking at is your insight and wisdom, is that we're actually looking at the sun differently. And what you're saying is that really is only one sun. And the fact that Bin Laden and George Bush are looking and seeing the sun differently is the source of great conflict. It's a source of millions of people dying, and because they're looking at two different realities. You're assuring us, no, there is only one reality. And I think that is leading to conflict. So what would you say to George Bush and Osama bin Laden, to the different suns, different realities that they see? Both of you, stop. There is only one reality. It synchronizes. It is the one reality. But that's not how they're seeing it. Maybe if they did, there wouldn't be conflict. In the meanwhile, what do we do?
Well, I really think that all those issues come because they're not looking at the sun. If they were really looking at the sun, they'd be just looking up and going, there it is. That fundamentally, the realities of human being as we are, not what we can believe in, and not all our aspirations, and our accomplishments, and our ideas, and our theories, and our philosophies, that all the people on the face of this earth, all the people on the face of this earth, have the same fundamental reality. We come, we exist, and we go.
some of us take rebirth. You're watching a conversation with Guru Maharaj Prem Rawat. We'll be right back after a short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to a continuing conversation with Guru Maharaj Prem Rawat. Much of your teaching looks at knowledge, and you have different layers of knowledge and different kinds of knowledge that bring about change or transformation. And what is this teaching, sharing of knowledge, and what are its dimensions?
You know, I'm really enjoying this conversation. And the reason why I'm enjoying this conversation is because the two different perspectives that exist here. One perspective is very much saying, I think. And the other perspective is saying, I know. The knowledge that I talk about, the know-how, being knowledge, is the knowledge to get in touch with that fundamental reality that exists inside of us. It's not a theory.
And it's not a journey.
The journey is your existence. That is the journey.
But the journey to that journey from the lack of from the exterior to the interior, this bus analogy that you used, you don't have a journey, you're there.
You can feel it, you feel it, and that's it.
So was there ever a time when you didn't have it? Was there
Of course there was
journey?
a time I didn't have it.
So there was a journey. What was the journey? What were the elements of that journey? Was there something that happened? Was it spontaneous? Was there the search of the Buddha? Was there sort of the voice of God that comes to the prophet?
No.
So did it happen when it was 4 or 3? When did it happen?
My father, it was very fascinating because what he was talking about is exactly this. There are so many ideas in this world, and that's all fine and great, but then you need to feel something. It's like a person who's thirsty. You can draw him a picture of a well, you can describe water to him, and that's all well and fine. But at some point that person needs to have that glass of water to be able to quench the thirst. And that's what he talked about. He says, I'm not interested in all that other stuff. That's fine, do it your way, whatever. Somebody comes up with a new theory, new philosophy, fine, great. And it's interesting, but I'm offering water. That's what I'm offering. I'm offering water. I'm not offering pictures of a well. I'm not offering all those other interesting things. I'm offering the water. And he called and he sat us down and he says, do you want to be able to get in touch with that beauty that is inside of you? And I said, yes.
Okay, I do. Tell me how.
Well, this is what he said. Do you aspire? Do you aspire in a real way? Because if you're caught in what is all those things and then the reality of you, the aspiration, the thirst has to come from within. You see, you can give a glass of water to anyone, but that person who is thirsty will enjoy it the most. And that's the difference. Is there a thirst? And if there is the thirst, then that is all the journey you need to feel that thirst inside of you. And when you feel that, the water is there. That's drinking the water for a person who has been thirsty for 2 days is the smallest part of it. But that water can quench the thirst. And not, I think I'm thirsty. What would it be like if I were thirsty? Not the suppositions, not the theories, not the philosophy, not the ideas, but feeling the thirst as you are, as I am.
But the analogy of thirst, of course, is that sooner or later, at some point, we will all get thirsty. It's something that we need biologically. It's something that's unavoidable. And we will feel that thirst. And then it is a question of whether we can find the water or not. And if we don't get the water, we die. So as a part of that same analogy, you're telling me that I have the aspiration. I'm not clear as to what that aspiration is, other than an unsatisfactoriness, perhaps, in one's life. And if I may equate that unsatisfactoriness with thirst. What is the water that will quench my unsatisfactoriness? That's my sort of semantic use. I mean, we could give it any other word.
Okay. I'd like to just back up a little bit. And what I'd like to say is that we are thirsty. But we are so good at masking things. We have turned up the volume of everything around us so loud that something within inside of us that is trying to tell us that we are thirsty and please be fulfilled, which maybe that was there when we were much younger, we have masked it. The world comes, gives us responsibilities. We undertake those responsibilities, and don't mistake me. I'm not saying we shouldn't be responsible. We should be responsible, and we should charge our duties all very responsibly. But at the same token, we have become so good at masking things. We can take a reality, any little reality out there, and mask it. We don't like traffic jams, so we go and put great stereo systems in our cars, so we don't have to sit there and be bored, quote unquote. You fly in airplanes these days and there's all the TVs and movies and this and that, because we don't want to get bored.
Let's go back to this knowledge of this whole thing of knowledge.
And so if you understand the thirst,
I have knowledge,
then you begin to understand that there is something that can connect you. Because the thirst is the proof, is the judgment. To saying, yes, you need something in your life. You need something.
I have the aspiration, let's describe it as a thirst.
For what?
For a different reality. My reality, or my understanding of reality, is imperfect. It's not the reality that you recommend as the unchanging, the universal, the ultimate, absolute, whatever phrase we want to use. And sort of, according to your system, obviously I'm in touch with a different reality, and my perception of reality is flawed. I'm ignorant.
No. I'm not saying that.
How do I reach that reality that will bring me peace?
But which reality is it?
It's the reality that you recommend.
Which reality am I recommending?
I have no idea.
You said perfect reality.
Because my notion of reality is relative. So we're not getting into what I think or what my understanding is. I'm just looking to arrive and looking to understand and learn from you as a master and a teacher as to how I could reach, what do I need to do to reach the peace that you teach? And what are the methods and systems of understanding or using knowledge to get there?
The first step is to understand that peace is within you. This is the hardest thing for people to comprehend.
Okay, having let's just sort of take me through the steps, and I don't know that I'll get there in the next 6 minutes, but yes, I do believe that too, that the peace is within us, and I have to discover it and reach it. What do I do with that knowledge?
Then, if you understand that it is, and first of all, you cannot have templates. I have noticed that the biggest problem people have is they have templates. Everybody has templates. Templates of a perfect wife, templates of a perfect husband, template of a perfect kid. And people are always surprised because there's very few people who actually can pass that test.
But you have a template of reality too.
No, I don't. That is the point here. That you come to a point where you understand. You take your telescope. It's like you're taking your telescope and pointing it to the heavens. And it's not like I'm looking for something.
Well, tell me. Let's just lead me through this process. Yes.
Exactly.
I have the striving.
Somebody made a telescope.
I realize that the truth is.
Pointed it towards the heavens.
Do I need the telescope?
You need a telescope.
What is the nature of the telescope?
And the telescope is of your understanding.
How do I arrive at that understanding?
You arrive at that understanding by taking away all the curtains, all the templates, and saying, no, I don't need these crutches. I can stand on my own feet.
Do you use techniques of meditation? What processes do you use that might facilitate sort of inefficient people such as myself to remove these sort of whatever filters or whatever words you want to use to reach that? Is there a technique?
There are 4 techniques, and I call them techniques of knowledge.
We'll come to that in a moment. You're watching a conversation with Guru Maharaj Prem Rawat. We'll be right back after a short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to a continuing conversation with Guru Maharaj and Prem Rawat. Well, tell us. Time's running out.
There are 4 techniques that take you inside. And this is what I offer to people. And a lot of people say, well, what are they? Show it to me. And I say, they will do absolutely no good to you because it is like handing you a glass of water. And if you're not thirsty, you're going to go, what is this? Thank you very much. Take a sip and put it down. If you really want to do justice to it. And this is
I'm looking for this glass of water because I think there's a long journey ahead. I may not get another conversation with you, so I might as well drink up.
I'm around.
Running out,
I'm around.
So give me the glass of water.
I'm around. I am
give me the glass
around.
of water.
Because to me, from my perspective, giving it to you, first of all, it is my honor and privilege. This is what I do. I go around the world and I talk to people, and I'm not making empty promises. But the most important thing that I want to see in you is that clarity and that aspiration. Clarity that I'm not looking through a template. That I want to see what it is. That goodness gracious, you have been sitting in this room, we've been talking about the sun, and you know what? Maybe I've forgotten what the sun looks like. Maybe I need to step outside and really take a look at it and not have a preconceived idea of what the sun should be like. Let it be no doubt. Because we create doubts, we create questions, we create our ideas, we create our expectations of how it should be. But it's like viewing something that we have never viewed before. And that cannot have templates, that cannot have boundaries, that cannot have barriers. We need to be in that clarity. That's what clarity is. When we have abandoned the templates, we're not on crutches, we're standing on our own feet.
So I'm not going to get the knowledge of the four dimensions of knowledge that might sort of make a difference to me.
Well, first of all, understand that what you are looking for is inside of you. Take solace in that.
Got it.
Take comfort in that. That what you are looking for, you are not incomplete. Don't come to me saying, complete me.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm just asking you that I'm asking you, as out of your compassion and your caring for millions of people who might be watching this program, is to use this opportunity, and I try and sort of carry their voice to you, and say, you have this wisdom, you have this knowledge. Tell us, share it to us, put us on the path.
So do you.
Whatever.
So do you, and so all those wonderful viewers.
But you reached 9 million people. And you know, that's a figure in your brochure. You know, 9 million people, 90 countries, and then someone has been sort of, you know, keeping track, and that's a huge number you've impacted. So we just want to know, we want to learn, what are the elements, what are the stages, what is the journey, what happens? Is it just, is it as in many cases, the presence that is transforming?
No.
Is there a wisdom? Is there a teaching? What is it?
It's something, there is something very, very practical. There's something very, very practical. And it begins with that first step of saying, I do feel my thirst.
And then what happens?
And then once you feel that thirst, you know, there's a remarkable thing that happens. Once a person gets thirsty, they find the water. They do.
And what's 3 and 4?
They do. That's it. That's 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 6, and 8, 9. That's everything. They get thirsty. They find the water.
You found the water.
Through the help of my master, I have found the water.
Do you ever feel thirsty?
Of course I feel thirsty. And when I do, I turn to that well and drink from it. And that well is inside of me as it is inside of you. I'm not here and I don't go and talk to people about how incomplete they are. I'm not there to tell them, oh, by the way, you can improve yourself. No. You are manufactured by the most incredible creator. And do some justice to that creator in saying and looking not at the flaws, but the beauty that has been placed in every single human being.
Well, and another time, another conversation, we'll discuss whether I was born of a creator and whether it was sort of evolution or creation. Do you believe in evolution?
Of course I believe in evolution.
Do you believe in creation?
Of course I believe in
How did
creation.
the two marry? What do you tell the people in
the
America?
Creator created the evolutionary process through which all this happens. There's nothing mysterious about it. Obviously, some power has facilitated and continues to facilitate the process of evolution. And things evolve. I mean, my goodness, I've evolved. I evolve every day.
Ah, you've acknowledged a journey.
No, I have acknowledged evolution. And of course, life is a journey. Life is definitely a journey. I am not saying that we're all at our destinations and a bunch of ships parked in a bay. No, we are traveling. Life is a journey. We go through many things in this life.
So what is your destination then?
My destination, I have found within me, is to have the access to that peace, to that joy that resides within me. Within me, within you, within every single human being. Regardless of who they are, what religion they follow, what they do. Big distinction. What they do, what their beliefs are, what they think is right and what they think is wrong. Regardless of that, we see differences, but we don't see similarities. We see differences. We have become so stewed at seeing differences in people. But what about the similarities?
I can't help this, but before we conclude, what would you say to Bin Laden and George Bush? This is something that sort of this has come up for me 2 or 3 times in this conversation. What would you say to them as the great master who's impacted so many million people? What advice would you give them? What would you say? Just feel thirsty, look at the sun. What would you say?
Well, I have to look at them as human beings.
What would you say to them?
I know what one person has done for the world is terrible, and there is other people who like the other person and don't like the other person.
What did you say to them?
But from my perspective, well, if it was morning, I would say good morning, and if it was afternoon, I would say good afternoon.
That's all.
That's all.
Okay. Thank you
It's not
very much,
my place
Guru
to judge
Maharaj.
them.
Not judging. I just meant in terms of advice.
Good
Because
morning
you can make
is
a
the
life.
best advice I can give them. Have a good life. If people respected life, not all ideas, but if people respected lives, I think we would have a better world.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you.
Prem Rawat. What do you feel most comfortable with me calling
Either
you?
one.
It doesn't matter. What does it say on your passport?
My passport says Prem Rawat.
Thank you.
Thank you.